Let's start with an empty folder here underneath the Golang course. What I'm going to do here is create a new file. The first file in every Golang program is called main.go. And this is the entry point into our program. So for now, just follow along with this package main and func main, and then save it. Package main is a special package to describe a executable binary for Golang. So there can only be one package main in a program. So even though we have multiple other commands in here and each of these folders have a package main, there can only be one package main within a single Go program. And there can also only be one main function inside of a Go program. And this is the entry point into our program. So func main is the first function that's called. So we could do a format println hello world. Now you can see my code editor automatically imported the package format, FMT for short, and that is part of the Go extension that does that. So let's run this, and I'm going to do a new terminal here. Now you can see I'm actually within my Golang course, and I'll have to go down into Basics 01. So we can either compile the program, or we can just run it right away. So there's two ways to do this. Go run, and then you specify dot to mean the current folder, and that will actually compile and run your program. Another option is to actually compile into a binary first, and that's the command go build. Again, dot meaning the current folder. Now you can see that the binary basics01 was just created, and then to run that, it will just return back our print line. Now let's talk about different types. We're not going to go over every single type, but the basics. Let's start with a string. Let's do var name equals Nick. Now we can also save it. You can see there's an error, name declared and not used. So in Go, every variable that's defined needs to be used, otherwise it's a compile error. We can again do a format print. Let's do an F so we can specify, and then a %s is to put a string inside of the print, and let's do name. And you can see immediately our error went away. Now let's try running this. I'm just going to use go run so I don't have to do 2 steps every time. So now you can see hello Nick here. And there's also an extra character there because printf doesn't insert a new line. So we can do /n, and then that goes away. Now a shortcut instead of using var name is to do a colon first, and then you can remove the var. So that saves you some time there. There are instances where you want to use var, and we'll go over those later. Other types could be integers. And if you want to specify a type, you could do this, int. If you want to use other types, such as an unsigned integer, here's uint 15, and then even in my editor I can see integer can be 16 or 32, 64 if you need any of those higher sizes. Now let's talk about functions. From the main function we can call other functions, so we can call func foo, and this is a function that doesn't take any arguments, and it also doesn't return anything. So we can say println foo here. And to call it, you can also see that foo is unused too. So let's call it from here and run it, and you can see foo there. Now besides the main function, let's create some other functions. So we're going to add those to another file. Within the same folder, we can call functions.go, and this also has to be named with a package. We have to use main because that is the package name of the main.go function. So there can't be mixed packages within the same folder. There is an exception for tests, and we can go over that in a different video. So within this function, we're going to call this func entry, and from here we're going to do a lot of other functions. So in the main, we're going to call func entry, okay, from here let's do some other things with functions. So let's say func add a and b int, and then we're going to return an int as a result. So this does quite a few things here. Let's say we want to add 1 and 2. Result, and then print line result. Okay, and also when we use a different import, the import has to be within that file too. So what does all this do? Let's go through the add function we're calling with 1 and 2, and the add function has a signature of a and b with an integer, and this syntax here is shorthand, so we could actually use a int comma b int. Because these two arguments follow each other, we can actually save a little time and space to show we're using the same type here. Now also you can see that we have an error because we're missing the return. So Go compiler is actually helping us avoid any mistakes we have in our code as we write it. So we're going to do a return a plus b, and let's run it, and that's 3. So to actually make this a little bit better, let's do some lines, and let's do func entry like this. Now we're going to talk about errors, so let's create an errors.go file. And again, this is package main. So a new error is of type error. So error is a built-in type, and all it is an interface into an error. And we'll go over interfaces later because that's a more advanced concept. All we have to know for errors for now is that functions can return errors to tell us in higher level functions when there was a problem that happened. So let's use a function, and we're just going to do add a, b, int, and then we're also going to return an error. So we're also going to say 2, 3. Now, what can we do that would cause an error here? Let's say we only want the range to be within 0 and 10 for a. If a is less than 0, we want to return an error. And we can do this by creating a new error using the format package. A is less than 0. If a is greater than 10, a is greater than 10. Now we also want to return the result, so then we're going to add int. And because we have two variables that are being returned, we have to wrap those in a parentheses. You can also see that we have to return result. Your compiler will actually tell you not enough return values, have error, want an int in an error. So we can do 0 and 0. And then down here, we're actually going to return a plus b. And you can also see that this causes an error as well because we're not returning the error. And when you don't have an error, you just return nil. So nil is a null value, and nil is just shorthand for that. Okay. So now we have another error here. Oh, we are using this in a different function file. So when you call or create the same function, it's shared between all the Go files. So let's call this add with error. And then we're going to call it here. Now we have to get the result and then get the error. You can call the error anything you want, but it's very common practice in Go to call errors the ERR variable. And this is also a very common pattern. If error not equal nil, we want to print the error, and then we want to exit. So we can either return or we can call OS exit. And then this wouldn't matter. Now you can see that our result has an error. Let's also print this result here. So errors entry, we're going to put in our main function. Okay, let's see what happens. So it says 5. There was no error. So let's say we added 12 here. A is greater than 10, and then we exited. So you can see that happens here.